So I'm going to go over the questions from the logs test, and then when we're finished with the video, you can just follow the test corrections procedure, and then hopefully you can get half credit back. And you can skip around on the video, because if you didn't miss all the questions, there's no use to watch me go through them. So for number 1, all you had to do was match the key features to the test questions. So what I'm just going to tell you to do is look at just the y-intercepts, and you can figure out the correct answers just looking at those. So if you're having trouble with domain and range, then that's a conversation that we need to have, and we need to work on it separately together. Okay, but those were the answers. Okay, so then number 2 said find an equation equivalent to x to the third equals 40. So my base was x, my exponent was 3, and my answer was 40. So if I put that into log form, I write the word log, the base of the exponent becomes the base of the log, and then 40 and 3 kind of switch places. So that's just how you switch from exponential to log. This next one asks for which is an equivalent function to this. Remember that an e and an ln get rid of each other. And I just realized that I have a typo in this question, so sorry. It should look like this. Okay, so now to get rid of a natural log, you would do the e of both sides. This would cancel out. So e to the 5th equals x plus 2. So that's how you get d. Okay, so this one says which 2 logarithms below are equivalent. Check the 2 equivalent expressions. So if you read this and you thought it was multiple choice, then you only picked one, so that's why you got it wrong. Okay, so all you have to do is evaluate these in the calculator. And I don't know why sorry, that should be just one line there. But if you'll notice, both of them are 1/3, so those are the 2 that are equivalent. Okay, so 5 and 6 were actually graded responses, so all you had to do was put this in the calculator. That's what evaluate means. So it equals 9. And then this one, you just put in the calculator, and it said round to the 10,000th place, which means 4 decimal places. So that's how you get those. Okay, so for this one, you're matching equivalent expressions. So you're using those properties of logs, you're expanding, condensing, however you want to look at it. When I look at number 1, I see that there's a 2 in front of log, so obviously that needs to go over there. So I'm going to rewrite what I have so you can see it. Okay, and then because I am adding, I can bring together those by multiplying. Alright, and then I just have to simplify. So remember, x minus 1 squared means x minus 1 twice. So I'm going to do the 2 parentheses first, and then I'm going to distribute that 3. So I get 3x squared minus 6x plus 3. So that's how I get d. Alright, so for this one, number in front of a parenthesis, so I can move that to an exponent. So I'm going to write what I have so far. Okay, also inside the parenthesis, there's another exponent, so I can move that. So it's 2 to the 2/3, also to the 9th power. Okay, and then because I'm subtracting, I can bring that together by division. So you don't have to do it in the steps that I did. Alright, so this is just a number, just put that in your calculator, and that's how you get C. Then number 4 is actually, not number 4, sorry, I was looking at the number 4. Number 3 is actually in condensed form. So what I'm going to do is, let's see, I think the first thing that's easier to do is to break apart the 4. No, I changed my mind. Alright, so break these apart. Alright, so the squared goes with the 4, it also goes with the x squared. Remember that. So I'm gonna do this differently, sorry. because I think it's easier to look at the answer choice first. So let me look at this one, and let's condense this. Okay, so anytime there's a number in front, I can make it an exponent, so that's what I'm going to do first. Okay, because we're adding here, we can bring that together by multiplication. And then because we're subtracting here, we can divide. So 32 divided by 2 is 16. Alright, and then just know that 4x squared is actually the same thing as 16x squared. So I think that one's a little easier to work backwards from the answer choice. So by process of elimination, we know what the answer to number 4 is, but I'm going to show you that one really quickly. Okay, so I'm going to do this. So the cube root of a squared is the same thing as to the 2/3 power. We talked about that. The cube root of b is the same thing as the 1/3 power. So this is what we're looking at. Because these two are being multiplied, I can break those up by addition. And then because this one is being divided, I can break that up by subtraction. And then the last thing is to move the exponents in front. Alright, so it would be natural log A 2/3 plus 1/3 natural log B minus natural log C. So this has some weird parentheses, but they're kind of just misleading because they don't really mean anything. Okay, so for this one, you had to write in a value for x that makes the equation true. You could have guessed and checked numbers and plugged them in until you got to 16. Or we can use the properties of exponents. So I'm going to condense this side. So anytime there's a number in front, I'm going to write it as an exponent. Okay, I can go ahead and change 6 squared to 36 if you want to do that. And then because we are subtracting, we can bring that together by division. Okay, so now that I have a log on each side, I can cancel those out because they're exactly the same. I can multiply both sides by x to the 1/4. These cancel out, so I have 18x to the 1/4 equals 36. I can divide both sides by 18. X to the 1/4 equals 2. And then to get rid of that fourth, I can do each side to the 4th power. So that's how I get 16. Or you can guess and check numbers. You could have put the left side in a graph and the right side in the graph and fill in the intersection. All of those work. Okay, so a wildlife organization released a group of animals that are endangered species into a preserve. The equation below models the population P and the species T months after its initial release. How many months will it take the population to reach 600? So 600 is your population. So I'm going to replace P with 600. Okay, I'm going to multiply both sides by that quantity. Alright, so now I'm going to divide both sides by 600. I don't really need these parentheses anymore. I can subtract 1 from each side. And then I'm going to divide by 8 on each side. And then to get rid of an e, I'm going to take the natural log of each side. And then the last thing I'm going to do is divide by 0.15. Negative 0.15, sorry. That's how I get 11.1598. So that would be 12 months. Alright, so then we have this one. A pizza is removed from the oven at a temperature of 425. After 15 minutes, the pizza is cooled to 200. Use a continuous exponential decay model. So remember, that's this. because it says decay, the rate's going to be negative. Find the approximate decay rate. Type your answer as a decimal with 2 places. So we started at 425. We don't know the rate, but we do know it took us 15 minutes. And we ended at 200. So we're going to divide both sides by 425. And we'll change this to 15R just because it looks prettier. Alright, now I have to take the natural log of both sides. And then the last thing I'm going to do is divide by 15. So that's how I get 0.05. And then remember, because it is decay rate, it needs to be a negative. I didn't want you to change your answer to a percentage for this one, just keep it as a decimal. Alright, a new app was downloaded 175 times in its first week. Since then, the number of downloads increased by 16.5% each week. Use a continuous exponential growth, which means this, to approximate the number of times the app was downloaded, in its 12th week. So we started with 175. We change our rate to 0.165, and it's in its 12th week. Alright, so you get this, and you just round to the nearest whole number. Okay, so here are the answers for number 12. So the nice thing about this one is you could have taken the answer choices and plugged them in and see which one gave you the right answer. So on the next page, I'm going to work them all out for you really quickly, and then, and then we'll be done. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to condense this left side. So because it is being subtracted, I can bring that together by division. And now they both have just a log on each side, so those can cancel out. So here's what I'm left with. Okay, I'm going to multiply both sides by that quantity x minus 5. This cancels out, so I have 3x plus 1 equals. Then I have to distribute that or FOIL it. Now I'm going to get everything to one side. Okay, and then I'm going to graph this into Desmos and see where it hits the x-axis. It's 2 different times at 7 and -3. However, when I check this one, it doesn't work. That's how I get the first one is C. Okay, I'm going to do this one the easiest way I know how. All of this is numbers, so I'm going to put that in my calculator. I'm going to divide both sides by 1/2. I'm going to write it in exponential form. So I'm going to do the left side. I'm going to subtract 13, and I'm going to divide by 3. So that's how I get 17. Several ways you can do this one. I'm going to condense it, so I'm going to make this become an exponent. I'm going to bring together addition by multiplying. I'm going to switch this into exponential form. I'm going to divide by 9. And I'm going to take the square root of both sides. And it would help if I could do mental math. Sorry. The square root of 9 is 3. My bad. Okay, first thing I would do on this one is try to isolate the natural log part. So I'm going to divide by -2 on both sides. I'm going to do the e to both sides. Remember, this cancels out, so I just have 2x minus 3 equals e to the 5th. I'm going to add 3 to the other side, and then I'm going to divide by 2. So 75.7066. If you knew how to do this one, you're awesome, because it's super hard. You could have plugged in answer choices, or you could put this side in Y1, this side right 2, and find the intersection. If you were actually going to take pre-cal, I would want you to do this like for real, know how to do it, but I don't think you guys are, which is perfectly fine. Don't need to. Alright, let's see what happens when we plug in 8 as our answer choice. get that on the left side. I get this on the right side, so 8 must be the answer. Okay, for this one, I'm going to try and isolate this part. So I'm going to get rid of the adding 23 by subtracting it to both sides first. I'm going to get rid of the negative 3 by dividing. And then I'm going to switch it to log form. And then I'm going to subtract 1. So log base 2, 7 minus 1. Make sure you do all of that first. And that's how I get this answer. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to try and isolate this part first. I'm going to divide both sides by 1/2. Make sure when you're dividing by a fraction, you put the fraction in parentheses or you get the wrong answer. Okay, to get rid of an e, I have to natural log both sides. The nice thing is this cancels out. Whoa! Then I'm going to add 3 to both sides. And then I'm going to divide by 4. Make sure you're doing that part separately, then divided by 4. There we go. Okay, this one, easiest thing to do, put this side in Y1, that side in Y2, find their intersection, or plug in the answer choices. So let's see what happens when I plug in 4.4172. Sorry, confused myself. Alright, so both sides get fairly close. So that's how I know that that's my answer. So no matter what your skill level in math is, if you're actually watching the videos and you know how to solve them, or you know how to put them in the y equals and find the intersection, or you know how to guess and chess answers, you can still get these questions correct. So do your test corrections, get you some points back, get you a nice 100 for doing them. Let me know if you have any questions.